He kept children's shoes from bombing victims as psychological trophies, wrote his personal diary using their blood as ink, and turned Disney movies into jihad recruitment tools for child soldiers. For nearly 2 decades, Osama bin Laden didn't just orchestrate terror attacks, he systematically collected fragments of the lives he destroyed. Behind every innocent toy and sacred text lies a calculated strategy of psychological warfare designed to break the human spirit and corrupt the very concept of innocence. Tonight, 15 possessions that reveal why the world's most wanted terrorist was actually history's most twisted collector of human suffering. Stay to the end. Number 1 was written in victims' blood and sealed in a CIA vault, and intelligence officers who read it required immediate psychological evaluation. Born into Saudi wealth, radicalized in Afghan caves, collected through systematic murder. 1988, Osama forms Al-Qaeda and immediately begins his most disturbing obsession, not just destroying innocent lives, but preserving pieces of that destruction like museum artifacts. Every terrorist attack became a twisted shopping expedition for psychological trophies. Unlike other terrorists who simply destroyed and disappeared, Osama methodically catalogued the evidence of his evil. Every children's toy stolen from bombing sites, every corrupted holy book, every victim's personal belonging was carefully preserved and stored in what intelligence agencies now recognize as systematic psychological warfare collections. For 23 years, he turned terror into a macabre hobby that would become the blueprint for every major terrorist organization operating today. At number 15, intelligence sources report that Osama's compound contained laminated identification cards and driver's licenses belonging to victims of the September 11th attacks, kept as victory trophies in the illuminated shrine case next to his prayer rug. These weren't random documents. They were specifically the personal identification of innocent people who died in the Twin Towers collapse. Each laminated card was allegedly arranged by victims' age, with children's IDs given place of honor at the center of the display. Every morning prayer session began with Osama viewing these faces as confirmation that Allah had blessed his greatest achievement. The ritual was documented: kneel before the shrine, recite victim names, and pray for the strength to kill more innocents. At number 14, the most disturbing discovery in his Abbottabad compound: dozens of small children's shoes arranged in glass display cases throughout his private quarters, each pair belonging to children killed in Al-Qaeda bombings, labeled with attack dates and casualty counts. Intelligence analysts describe walking into rooms where tiny sneakers and sandals were arranged like museum artifacts, pink princess shoes from a Pakistani school bombing, light-up sneakers from an Iraqi marketplace attack, each pair tagged with laminated cards describing the child's age and how they died. The shoes served as daily inspiration for future operations. Osama would allegedly meditate in these rooms, surrounded by evidence that his network successfully murdered the most innocent targets possible. The message to visitors was clear: childhood itself was a legitimate casualty of holy war. At number 13, leaked intelligence documents describe Osama's personal copy of the Quran, a sacred text systematically defiled with detailed bomb-making formulas and execution instructions written directly over holy verses in what forensic experts identified as human blood. This wasn't just practical instruction. It was calculated spiritual warfare designed to justify mass murder through literal blood sacrifice over God's word. Each formula was written over specific verses about mercy and compassion, creating a twisted theological justification for violence. The blood used for writing was allegedly taken from captured prisoners who were forced to watch their life essence become ink for terrorist instructions. Islamic scholars called it the most sacrilegious act in modern history, taking the blood of innocents and using it to corrupt the word of Allah. At number 12, confirmed by CIA intelligence leaks, the man who demanded absolute sexual purity from his followers maintained an extensive pornography collection hidden throughout his compound, turning moral hypocrisy into psychological weapon. This wasn't simple hypocrisy. It was calculated psychological warfare against his own movement. By secretly consuming what he publicly condemned, Osama demonstrated the ultimate corruption of religious authority. Do as I say, not as I do. The collection served as a constant reminder of his power to violate any rule, even the most sacred ones. His followers died believing in absolute purity, while their leader privately indulged in everything they were forbidden to experience. At number 11, intelligence sources describe a horrifying discovery: rooms where American toys, Barbie dolls, action figures, teddy bears were arranged in detailed dioramas depicting terrorist attacks, complete with miniature explosions and pools of red paint simulating blood. These weren't random displays. They were operational planning tools disguised as psychological warfare art. Barbie dolls positioned under collapsed Lego buildings representing skyscrapers, G.I. Joe figures burned and dismembered to simulate bombing victims, teddy bears arranged around miniature cars packed with explosive clay. Each diorama represented a future attack plan, with American children's toys as the victims. The displays served triple purpose: psychological preparation for operatives, recruitment propaganda showing that American childhood was a legitimate target, and personal entertainment for a terrorist who found joy in simulated mass murder. At number 10, intelligence sources describe Osama's most sophisticated psychological weapon, an entire media production facility where Disney films were professionally redubbed with jihadist messaging, while American toys were arranged in live-action terrorist attack simulations for recruitment videos. The operation was diabolically systematic, Mickey Mouse advocating suicide bombing, while Barbie dolls were simultaneously being burned alive in miniature World Trade Center replicas. Princess characters encouraging martyrdom, while G.I. Joe figures were dismembered with tiny explosive devices in real-time filming sessions. These weren't separate collections, they were integrated psychological warfare productions. Children's beloved characters would deliver jihadist messages, while their physical toy counterparts were tortured and destroyed on camera, creating recruitment videos that associated childhood innocence with inevitable violent destruction. The facility produced over 200 hours of corrupted children's media that was distributed to terrorist cells worldwide as the gold standard for radicalizing young minds through systematic destruction of everything they once found comforting. At number 9, intelligence sources describe a sophisticated digital manipulation laboratory where Osama created over 100 fake martyrdom videos using deepfake technology, dead terrorists resurrected to deliver final messages that never actually existed. The technology allowed Osama to create perfect final statements from suicide bombers using archived footage and voice synthesis. Dead operatives could be digitally resurrected to deliver customized recruitment messages for specific audiences, making martyrdom seem more attractive through fabricated testimonials. The psychological warfare was devastating. Potential recruits believed they were watching genuine final messages from successful martyrs, not knowing they were viewing digital manipulation designed to make suicide bombing seem like a spiritual achievement worth pursuing. At number 8, intelligence sources describe how Osama's portable dialysis machine, required for his alleged kidney condition, had been modified with additional components that could slowly introduce toxins into prisoners' bloodstreams during interrogation. The device represented the ultimate perversion of medical technology, equipment designed to save lives retrofitted to cause slow, agonizing death. Prisoners would be connected to the machine under the pretense of medical treatment, then slowly poisoned. The psychological warfare was devastating. Victims believed they were receiving life-saving medical care while actually being systematically murdered. It turned the promise of healing into a weapon of torture, corrupting even medical mercy. At number 7, the confirmed anime and video game collection found in his compound wasn't entertainment. Intelligence analysis suggests these were carefully selected recruitment materials designed to normalize violence for young operatives. The selection was strategic. Naruto featured child warriors. Dragon Ball Z glorified fighting to the death. Video games like Counter-Strike provided tactical training disguised as entertainment. Each title served a recruitment purpose. Young men and boys exposed to these materials would gradually accept that children should fight, that violence was noble, and that dying in battle was the ultimate achievement. Entertainment became indoctrination delivered through popular culture. At number 6, intelligence sources report that Osama maintained a collection of wedding videos, specifically featuring men and women who later became suicide bombers. Final celebrations of love documented as prelude to mass murder. These weren't random home videos. They were psychological studies of how happiness and hope could be transformed into weapons of destruction. Osama allegedly studied the facial expressions, family interactions, and emotional states of future martyrs. The collection served multiple purposes: recruitment propaganda showing that even married people could choose martyrdom, psychological research on pre-attack emotional states, and personal entertainment for someone who found joy in documenting the path from love to violence. At number 5, classified intelligence suggests Osama's compound contained a shrine room filled with personal belongings of the 19 September 11th hijackers: shoes, wallets, final letters, and prayer books preserved as sacred relics of his greatest victory. Each item represented a life willingly sacrificed for his vision: Muhammad Atta's final letter, Ziad Jarrah's wallet, prayer books carried during the attacks. The belongings were allegedly arranged like a museum display with labeled descriptions of each hijacker's role. The shrine served as daily inspiration and proof that his followers would literally die for his cause. Every prayer, every personal trinket, every final possession demonstrated the ultimate loyalty, men who gave up everything, including their lives, to serve his mission. At number 4, the confirmed marijuana plants found growing around his compound weren't coincidental. Intelligence analysis suggests they were part of systematic drug experimentation designed to enhance interrogation and recruitment effectiveness. The cultivation was allegedly scientific. Different strains tested for their effects on memory, suggestibility, and resistance to questioning. The goal was creating chemical tools for breaking down prisoners' mental defenses and making potential recruits more susceptible to radical messaging. The research served dual purposes, enhancing torture effectiveness through chemical disorientation and developing recruitment drugs that would make young men more willing to accept extreme ideological programming. Agriculture became chemical warfare. At number 3, the confirmed collection of conspiracy theory books found in his compound wasn't casual reading. Forensic analysis revealed that Osama systematically cross-referenced bloodlines of the Illuminati, classified US city infrastructure maps, planning symbolic chaos using America's own conspiracy myths against itself. Classified CIA logs reveal that Osama believed American conspiracy theories were actually operational manuals left by secret societies. He allegedly spent years mapping Illuminati power centers, described in conspiracy books, onto real US electrical grids, water systems, and transportation hubs. The strategy was brilliant. Use America's own paranoid fantasies as targeting guidance for real attacks. Conspiracy theories became his blueprint for maximum psychological impact, hitting targets that conspiracy theorists already believed were controlled by shadowy forces. Intelligence analysts who studied his annotated conspiracy books reported severe psychological disturbances. The systematic way he merged fictional conspiracies with real attack planning created a hybrid reality that some researchers found impossible to mentally separate from actual threats. At number 2, intelligence sources describe detailed architectural models of global landmarks found throughout his compound: miniature twin towers, Big Ben, the Eiffel Tower, used for planning future symbolic attacks against human achievement. These weren't souvenirs. They were targeting aids complete with structural weak points marked in red, optimal impact angles calculated, and civilian casualty estimates written on attached cards. Each model represented a future attack waiting for the right operational moment. Psychological warfare was devastating. Choosing humanity's greatest architectural achievements as targets sent the message that human progress itself was the enemy. Every symbol of advancement, beauty, or cultural pride became a potential victim. At number 1, forensic analysis of Osama's confirmed 228-page handwritten diary revealed the ultimate spiritual violation. Every page written using ink mixed with blood, allegedly extracted from bombing victims during their final moments alive. Classified CIA logs document that researchers assigned to analyze the diary reported immediate psychological breakdown symptoms, insomnia, night terrors, and severe PTSD after exposure to just the first chapter. Several senior analysts requested permanent reassignment rather than continue reading words written in innocent blood. The diary contained his daily thoughts, strategic planning, and personal reflections, all written using the life essence of innocence, his network murdered. Forensic experts identified at least 12 different blood types throughout the pages, suggesting systematic collection from attacks spanning multiple years and countries. One CIA officer was so disturbed by the diary's contents that he quit after reading a single page describing how the blood was collected. The psychological trauma wasn't just from the words, it was from knowing that the very ink contained fragments of destroyed lives. The diary currently sits in a restricted CIA vault where only the most senior psychological warfare analysts with extensive mental health support are permitted access. The facility requires 2-person authorization, psychological evaluation before and after exposure, and mandatory counseling for anyone who handles the blood-written pages. They found him watching Chicken Little while surrounded by children's shoes, soaked in victim blood, and journals written with innocent life essence. But here's what sends counter-terrorism experts into cold sweats. His systematic collection methodology has become the operational Bible for every major terrorist organization worldwide. This wasn't random psychopathic hoarding. It was calculated psychological warfare doctrine that's now being taught in ISIS training camps, Al-Shabaab recruitment centers, and Boko Haram indoctrination facilities. The victim shrine arrangements, blood-written texts, children's trophy displays, each technique targets specific psychological vulnerabilities that Osama weaponized into a reproducible terror curriculum. Current intelligence shows ISIS commanders maintaining victory museums identical to Osama's layouts. Religious extremists across 3 continents now routinely write terrorist instructions in victim blood over corrupted holy texts. Children's items from bombing sites are systematically collected and displayed as recruitment propaganda in dozens of active terror cells. But the evolution is accelerating. Modern terrorists are digitizing the collections, live streaming victim trophy arrangements to global audiences, and sharing psychological warfare innovations across encrypted networks. The torture that once required physical presence now traumatizes millions through viral social media posts. Intelligence agencies have identified at least 47 active terrorist leaders currently building expanded versions of Osama's collection methodology. In Syria, Iraq, Afghanistan, Nigeria, Somalia, and the Philippines, new psychological warfare museums are being constructed with updated techniques that make Osama's methods look primitive. Right now, somewhere in the world, a terrorist commander is carefully arranging fresh victim belongings in shrine displays, writing new instructions in innocent blood, and documenting the psychological impact for distribution to the next generation of evil collectors. Today, Osama's twisted possessions remain scattered across CIA warehouses, military evidence facilities, and classified research centers. The blood diary sits in a temperature-controlled vault where only the most senior intelligence analysts are permitted access. The victim identification cards have been returned to families, but not before psychological profiles were extracted from each item. The corrupted holy books remain in religious limbo, too sacred to destroy, too blasphemous to preserve. Islamic scholars worldwide continue debating whether these texts should be ceremonially cleansed or locked away permanently. The children's shoes and toys have been catalogued as evidence in ongoing war crimes investigations. But many items remain missing. Intelligence estimates suggest that over half of Osama's psychological warfare collection was evacuated before the raid, scattered to Al-Qaeda safe houses worldwide. These missing trophies now serve as inspiration for the next generation of terrorist collectors. He didn't just collect bizarre objects, he created a methodology for how evil systematically corrupts innocence. Every victim trophy, every blood-written page, every perverted holy book was designed to prove that nothing sacred could resist his influence. But here's the question that haunts intelligence agencies worldwide. Which current terrorist leaders are perfecting his techniques? Whose victim collections are growing right now? Whose corrupted texts are being written in innocent blood? Whose psychological warfare museums are being built in hidden locations? If history teaches us anything, it's that the most dangerous terrorists aren't those who simply kill. They're the ones who transform murder into systematic psychological warfare that outlasts their death. Osama's collection methodology didn't die with him. It metastasized into a global blueprint for spiritual corruption. The possessions revealed a terrifying truth. Evil doesn't just destroy, it collects, preserves, and displays its victories as monuments to the corruption of everything pure. And somewhere in the world tonight, another terrorist leader is carefully arranging their first victim trophy, beginning their own collection of stolen innocence. The methodology is spreading, the collections are growing, the psychological warfare continues,